Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones. We've got a breaking news podcast for you today, flying by the seat of our pants. Enormous news for North Carolina football. Tez Walker, the highly publicized Kent State transfer whose eligibility has been one of the biggest topics of the college football season, has been cleared by the NCAA Thursday. He will be eligible to play in the remaining games for the Tar Heels beginning Saturday when they host Syracuse at Kenan Stadium. I was getting my last touches of work done with preview advance material for the game Saturday when Dina King called and said, something's out there on Twitter about Tez being eligible. I got it confirmed by North Carolina. We pushed it on out there. By that point, I think a lot of people had it confirmed, and it was cruising pretty hard on social media. I have a statement from the NCAA I'm going to read in just a minute. No sponsors on this one. We're just diving right into this thing. But I got to tell you guys, justice has been done, although it should never have come to this. What's interesting is last week, a Minnesota player who had played at multiple schools and whose situation was not as cut and dry as Tez's, he was cleared by the NCAA. So we were at Mac Brown's press conference Monday, weekly press conference at the Kenan Football Center, and he was asked about that situation. And Mac said, look, we've got really good lawyers and really good people that deeply care about Tez, and they're working on this. They continue working on it. Now, I think I tweeted something out about it, and the general response was, well, they're not doing anything, shame on them. So then a couple of the players on Tuesday mornings, we get players in person at the Kenan Football Center, and they were asked about Tez. And they're like, right now we're operating as if we don't have him, and we're not going to have him this year. Drake May actually alluded to the fact that Tez was working on scout team. So Wednesday after practice on Zoom, we had Gio Biggers, a safety, and we asked him some questions about Tez on the scout team. So I ran a story yesterday about Tez Walker busting his tail constantly on the scout team. Here's a guy who's an NFL prospect, and he doesn't have to be on the scout team. He's risking injury being on the scout team, which goes up against the first and second team to get them ready for that week's game. That's the kind of teammate Tez is. And we learned a lot about him this week, about how deeply he cares about his teammates, how deeply they care about him. It wasn't just, let's get our best wide receiver eligible thing. This is run deeper than that. And if you follow the different players on social media the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks, guys on both sides of the ball, new players, young players, veteran studs on this team, the Cedric Grays of the world, they have been pushing for Tez to get eligible. Yes, they want him because he's really good and he will help them win. But I'm telling you, being around the program as often as I have been, this had become very personal to a lot of people. A, they don't appreciate the way the NCAA had treated this case. B, Tez is their guy. He's their bro. He's their warrior. He is someone that they want to go to battle with. Now they're going to have an opportunity to. But I'll tell you, and I'm going to read the NCAA statement here in a second. The NCAA couldn't look worse. And I'm someone who has explained the NCAA for years to people. It goes back to the whole AFAM investigation, in which there were actually 2 separate investigations. I've gone over that many times. But I've had excellent sources in the heart of the offices in Indianapolis and knew what was going on and really learned a lot about the inner workings of the NCAA and the inconsistencies of it. I'm not going to go into all those details here. If you're on our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com, I have laid that out over and over and over throughout this whole Tez Walker situation. So you can go on over there. It's just $8.33 a month. You can be an insider too, and that's where a lot of that information is. I haven't put a lot of it out in podcasts because, quite frankly, to some people it would be boring. But the people who want to machete their way through the weeds in the woods, you'll find a lot of that stuff interesting. So forgive me if I put my glasses on here because I've got to read this and I don't want to screw it up. But here's the statement released by the NCAA. It's a statement followed by, it's a graph followed by a statement from Charlie Baker, the president. The NCAA staff received new information regarding University of North Carolina student athlete Tez Walker this week. Staff determined the new information qualifies Walker for a transfer waiver. The information had not been made available by UNC previously, despite the school's multiple chances to do so. All right, I'm going to read Baker's statement in a second, but think about that right there. They've given in, but they're still throwing Carolina under the bus. The banging going on back and forth here is fascinating. All right, here's Baker's statement. It is unfortunate that UNC failed to provide this important information previously. Again, throwing them under the bus. While we must be careful not to compromise a student athlete's right to privacy when it comes to sensitive issues, we want to assure the Division I membership and everyone watching how the new transfer rules are applied that this meets the new transfer waiver standards. UNC's behavior and decision to wage a public relations campaign is inappropriate and outside the bounds of the process UNC's own staff supported. Had the UNC staff not behaved in this fashion and submitted this information weeks ago, this entire unfortunate episode could have been avoided. I have no dog in the fight here. We cover North Carolina. I don't root for North Carolina. You can look around my office here and there's nothing North Carolina in here. I cover the team. And my objective as a journalist in my 28th year in this profession is to cover the team accurately and fairly. But this is a load of BS by Charlie Baker and the NCAA. The case to me was always very cut and dry. And I do think UNC pushed real hard on the emotional heartstrings of this case. And maybe when they did that, we didn't know at the time that they had gone through multiple channels of trying to get Tez eligible. So in hindsight, I didn't know at the time that they were starting out that way. But in the end, this came down to a January 9th, January 11th issue. In the end, that's what it was. If I'm driving down Capitol Boulevard in Raleigh and I'm going 55 miles an hour and the speed limit's 55, and 2 days later, they change the speed limit to 45. If I'm on camera going 55 2 days earlier, they can't give me a ticket for that. But that's what they did here to Tez Walker in North Carolina. So for Charlie Baker to release this statement and make it sound like there's something secretly private that should not be consumed by the public, is not public information, I think is a cheap way out of putting the tail between the legs and recognizing that they were wrong, but they're getting out of it and they want to sling a little bit more mud back at UNC. Now, could UNC have handled it differently? Perhaps. But again, by the time Mac Brown on August 8th came over and talked to us after practice one day, we're standing there thinking we got, I think it was Chip Lindsey or Gene Chizik that day. Mac comes over to our surprise and tells us about the Tez situation. We didn't know at the time they had been dealing with this for a while. I mean, he'd been ineligible the whole time. We didn't know it. So they used multiple channels to get this thing into the social media discourse. And I thought it was a brilliant move at the time, and I still think it was, because the support behind Tez, even from rival schools and rival athletes, was very, very strong. The NCAA didn't like it. This is one of those cases where if you know someone or you're in a relationship with someone and you get into an argument and they know you're right, but man, they are not going to give in until the dust settles and the emotions calm down. That's the way the NCAA handled this thing. They went to their room, they slammed the door, they sulked for a while, and even in saying, okay, you were right, they don't apologize and say, but you should have been nicer about it. What a load of crap by the NCAA. Okay, all of that said, Tez Walker is eligible. Tez Walker will be on the field for North Carolina on Saturday, and this is a game changer for the Tar Heels. One of the things we have been chronicling is Drake May throwing the ball downfield. And let's be honest, without Tez Walker, they hadn't proven that there were any take the top off the defense, game-changing receivers. Nate McCollum is close. J.J. Jones could get open, but he's not a speedster. He'll admit he's not a speedster. So while the throws downfield have increased some the last two games, that appeared to be sort of a missing element. Tez gives them that guy. He gives them that dude outside that all contending teams must have. They now have that in Tez Walker. He's been working on the scout team, so he's been getting tons of reps. I think it was smart that Carolina was working him as a starter up until the South Carolina game. So he knows the offense. He's got tons of reps with Drake, through with him all off season. So he ought to be able to slide right in and be comfortable and get a lot of reps on Saturday and take this team, I think, up another notch. So this is very important that the NCAA has thrown mud at North Carolina and decided that they're going to wage a public relations battle with UNC. How UNC responds, I don't know. My guess is they say, enough's enough. We're going to move on. And Charlie Baker gets the last salvo, and he looks weaker in this salvo than he did before. So here's someone whose first year on the job was supposed to be different from Mark Emmert, was to show strength from the NCAA, and this is the crap that they pull, and he pulls. That's his name on it. That's his statement. So he has to own it. But you know what? Carolina's got Tez Walker. And at this point, Mac Brown doesn't give a crap what Charlie Baker says. That's my guess. It's not inside information. Oh, and let me add one more thing. I have reached out to UNC to find out what that information is that North Carolina hadn't produced before, that suddenly North Carolina produced this week that changed things. They'll get back to me. The media relations person I spoke to wasn't sure what that was at the time. I'm guessing we'll find out. And when we do find out, we will report it. Most likely, just on our site. So that's why you need to be a subscriber, just $8.33 a month. You can be a Tar Heel insider too. If you like this video, go ahead and click like. If you're excited, Tez Walker's back and will be on the field Saturday, click like. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you get updates every time we upload. And that's a ton. If you're a regular consumer of our stuff on YouTube, you know we upload a lot. But if you like our YouTube content, guys, our written stuff's 1,000 times better because there's more of it. And it's a lot, the kind of stuff we can't put on YouTube. More of the private, secret, behind the scenes stuff. So make sure you go on over there and become a member of our growing community. I'm AJ. We appreciate you stopping by.